All right, can you see my first slide? Okay, all right, so metadata ESS and the citation project. So I don't know if some of you or many of a few of you, ESS has decided and has been part of the core development of SciCat, which is the scientific data catalog. That's the logo. And it's two parts, two components. One is the back end and one is the front end. To give you an idea, it's built, the front end is on Angular, back end Nest with MongoDB, which it's to give you some context. The last time I talked to some of our collaborators, they brought into my attention that they don't have expertise in JavaScript or TypeScript, so they were asking why we would pick these languages. This has been done before my time I joined the project, so for now I have to roll with it. One thing that you should be aware of it is that the backend we just released a new version which has completely rewrite of the backend, and hopefully for the next many years we are okay. These are the website, which is a work in progress, and then the two repository for the front end and back end. And then I'm not going to bother you again with the fair and the trust principles, because we want to strive with those for these specific principles, and it's always a work in progress. So regarding when you use a SciCat, the first page, or the main page that you are going to see is the listing of the data sets that you have access to, or the public data set, and you have a form where you can do a search, and which it's the next big task for the project to improve the search and make it better. We are always open to get feedback from end users. And once you pick your data sets, the details, you have a few different groups, like the general information, the creator information, file information, and the related documents. So you can add a proposal, the instruments, and in this case, it's not shown, but you have a sample. And this is another example. The good thing is that you can actually add keywords that are like, think about tag of YouTube tags or Facebook tags, and so which help us to find the data in a faster way and in less time, and we can add these tags or curate these tags over time. Because of course, when as a data curation scientist or officer at ESS, I put in some tags that doesn't not match most of the time with what another user needs to find their data, or what they would use. Even if it's the same concept, the terminology might be different because we come from different domain knowledge. The most important one piece of information related to the data set that SciCat provides are the metadata. Here you see one example, which is overwhelming most of the time when I show to people. And here you see a second one. There are two different data sets. The main point, takeaway point here are that these metadata are, the naming are completely arbitrary. The value can be a string, a number, and you can actually assign unit. And when you do queries to SciCat, you can actually query with different units, and automatically SciCat starts the transformation for you. A lot of work, because it's a free-for-all section of your data sets. There has been a lot of talk in the community of SciCat community, of course. If we can provide some kind of validation, or the user or the specific institution can provide a schema for the data, for the metadata, so they can validate them. So that has been another open discussion that we are having at this in this moment. So now, how do we foster this, what I call the data dissemination? And the question is how to foster the data usage, the data enrichment, and empower the user to own the process. here is a subject that it's dear to my heart because I'm, again, I'm the data curation scientist. It's really hard to force on the user to curate their data. So the only way that I can succeed is if the user buys into the process. So how do we do that? Well, we have to lower the entry barrier, meaning we have to make it super, super easy and super accessible to all the users to do this. And regarding the data catalog is the usability. And when I say usability is A, documentation, B, how can I find my data, C, is the interface user-friendly? Can I find my data easily? Do I have to go crazy to find a specific option or not? And so in this case, in the last 2 years since I took over this project, I've been trying to reach out to all the users to get feedback on this one, good or bad, it doesn't matter. Feedback is always good. And then the other thing that we have been working on is to develop effective tools and libraries to easily access the data. So most of you thinks, oh, great, and Scicad has this nice way to present the data set and with my metadata, but I'm using Python, I'm using, I don't know, Julia, whatever it is, the language that you're using. Unfortunately, we had to pick one language, so we went with the language that it's popular and used mainly in ESS, and we picked the Python. So we go from Scicad to Python, and then we feed back. There are two sets of libraries. One is PyScicad, and the repository, the link to the repository is there, which offers a low-level Python binding. So you have an endpoint in Scicad and the matching function in Python. Granted, this is super useful if you are integrating your, like for example, easy refractometry to pull data from Scicad, but that means that you have to know programming, and you have to know the intricacies of how to you get all the information about your data set. So this one was, when we started working with this library, we users in ESS and outside told us that that was too complicated, or there were a lot of knowledge that was implied. And so we start to work on another library. It's called Scitacean, which is a higher level and strive to be user-friendly. And so this library completely hide the intricacies of how Scicad works. And in few lines of code, you can get all your information from the Scicad regarding your data set, including the metadata and including the files. So, I show you before the main page for a data set. Here there is the PID of the data set, which I know the previous two presentation already mentioned it, which looks like something like this for us. Well, in 3 lines of code, you instantiate the client, you provide, you call the get data set, and then you say download the files. You get a representation like this one in Jupyter Notebook, where you see all the information that have been stored in Scicad directly in your Jupyter Notebook, and you have a local copy of the files. So then you can proceed with your analysis. So that's where we are now. We are open to feedback again to kind of direct where our next step will be, because it will be nice to be able to say, hey, Citation, here is my query, retrieve all the data sets that I need to use. Of course, there is a lot of uncertainty there, because if you download 1,000 data sets, you might be stuck for 5 days to download your data. And so we are discussing about that. And with that said, thank you so much. And please, this is my email. If you have any questions, let me know. That's it.